From Chesapeake, Virginia, WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
And we are live as always on this overcast November 8, 2017. Glad you're with us. Sports Scene interview show each Wednesday from 12 to 1. Also watch sports highlights on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends about gjbtv.com the day after the election. Thank goodness it's over in Virginia. Twitter at Greg Bick, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles. Go to gjbtv.com in the contact section. Thank you to our military. Guest lineup presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Former Virginia basketball standout and current Old Dominion basketball coach Jeff Jones will join us just momentarily from Old Dominion. Sponsors on gjbtv.com, marketplace sponsors, and Hampton Roads onlinemall.com. Phone line presented by Mi Casita Mexican Restaurant. Show presented by hrsmhof.com. We'll make our big announcement for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame tomorrow. Thank you from Larry Bonka for the nice article in the Pilot. Redskins Vikings this weekend. Can Old Dominion win 2 games in a row in football? We'll find out. And of course, Old Dominion basketball is about to start soon. Great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary, what teased me off. Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene Weekly, and we love our regulars, newcomers, and tourists as well. 92.5 FM, 1650 AM, tunein.com, type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Stay tuned.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
All right. The NBA season has already started, and of course college basketball is right around the corner. Exhibitions are going on. Practices are every day now. It's that time of the year again in the fall where it goes to winter in the spring for college basketball. Let's welcome former Virginia basketball standout, former Virginia basketball coach, American University, and now at Old Dominion in his 5th year, Jeff Jones. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Greg. Great to talk to you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has been, of course, and we've had Coach Jones on radio and TV before at several stations, and yours truly was one of the first to interview him at the old game, and always a treasure to talk to Coach Jones. Well, you just took on CNU, of course, and now you got Towson. How is the team shaping up during the offseason as you get ready for this weekend?
Well, I think they've been working hard. We've been progressively getting better. We'll see come Friday night if we're ready for the challenge that Towson is going to present. That's a tough season opener right there. They're a veteran team and a very physical basketball team, so it'll be a great opportunity for our guys. I think we're coming along. We've got some different looks this year, but. It's a good group, a group of young men that I really like to coach. I like being around them, and hopefully, we can round into shape and become a very good basketball team.
How important is that, the chemistry so early on in the fall before you even step foot for a real game, that the coaches, your assistant coaches have been with you for a while, have that feel for the team as well as the players coming off the bench?
Well, chemistry is so important, and for us, we've got a good core group coming back from last year, but maybe the key to the season, or one of the keys to the season, will be a guy like Xavier Green, who was on the team last year but didn't play, that redshirted, but he's a very talented young man and could, I think, play a role, give us some depth, and allow us to do something because of his versatile skill set and his athleticism.
Very good. Let's talk about some of the players on the roster, of course. Caver and Stith, and of course, you have a Greek fellow in there too, I see, and of course, Pinkney and Green, and of course, some other players. Talk about the roster, how it's shaping up as far as veterans and newcomers.
Well, I think, everything starts with Ahmad Caver. He was on the all-conference team, all-conference team last year, had a very good sophomore year. And I don't know how this happens, but, he really, I think, took a positive step over the course of the summer, even though he was out for over a month with a broken wrist. But maybe it's just the experience and the confidence that comes with experience. But, he's been terrific thus far in the preseason. I fully expect Ahmad to be our leader on the court and to have an outstanding year. Brandon Stiff is a senior post guy that, again, has worked extremely hard. He's come back, I think, with a real positive attitude and, has continued being, just a monster on the boards. I mean, he's a beast inside, and we just need for Brandon to stay healthy. Each of the last 2 years, he's missed 5 games, and during those 5 games, we've struggled a bit. We've let some games get out of hand with him not being in the lineup. So hopefully he can stay healthy and be that double guy that we can count on night in, night out. The third guy that I would list would be BJ Stiff, Brandon's younger brother, Bryant Stiff's youngest son. BJ had gone to Virginia his first year in college, then transferred here. Didn't play much his freshman year, obviously, sitting out. He had to practice and watch the games. So he got off to a little bit of a slow start last season, but he really finished strong. I looked to BJ to be a double-figure scorer for us, a guy that maybe can be a focal point, not the focal point, but a focal point of our offense, particularly at the half-court level. And those 3 guys, I think that's the core. Those are the guys that have the experience. They've kind of been through the battles before, and I think we can, feel very good that night in, night out, they're going to be among our better players. I mentioned Xavier Green and the importance of his contributions to the team. The 2 other guys are guys that were on the team last year. Trey Porter played a little bit more than Randy Haynes did. Trey really finished the season on, I think, a positive note. He was playing his best basketball. I tried to communicate to him in our meeting at the end of the year that I thought that he had a chance to be a very, very good college basketball player. And I think his confidence is very high. He's worked hard, and I think he's poised to have an outstanding year and hopefully take another step in terms of his consistency because he's a force around the basket in terms of blocking shots. But I think he can give us another scorer. He's not going to score 20 a game, but I think if he could be another double-figure scorer and be efficient in there, I think that goes a long way towards helping our team. And the last guy I'll mention is Randy Haynes. Randy was on the team last year, junior college transfer, very talented young man, but never really looked comfortable. Well, after a big off season, I think it's safe to say that Randy feels a lot more at home at Old Dominion and out there on the floor. And he's earned a starting spot at the 2-guard spot. He's worked really hard defensively to kind of shore up his deficiencies from when he got here from junior college. But I think the big thing that he can bring to the table, and hopefully consistently, and we'll have to see, is being able to be another scorer that people are going to have to respect. Randy, he was a scorer throughout high school and in junior college, so hopefully he can continue in that vein with us this season.
You've had some great scores over the years when you were at UVA and, of course, at American and Old Dominion. Of course, you always need players off the bench, and you mentioned the chemistry of those players like Porter and Stiff and Caver. But your assistant coaches also, they're a part of your family as well, whether it was at Virginia or American. How important is that to have a unit that's all in from day one, each and every day, to know where you stand?
Well, a head coach is only as good as his assistant coaches, and I feel very, very good about our staff and where we are now. We made a change last year and brought in Kelvin Jefferson. I think Kelvin is, just like Randy Haynes in a sense. He's had a year to get comfortable, and so I think while chemistry on the court is very, very important, I think chemistry in the office is important too. I like our guys. I respect our guys. I think they do a great job of balancing the different things that they have to do. Wearing different hats. You got to be able to relate and deal with the players. You got to be able to recruit, but you've also got to be able to get out there on the court and instruct and teach. And I think we've got a real good group. And then with with Kieran Donahue and Dennis Wolf handling the administrative side of things. I'm very, very pleased with our staff, and I know they, the players really, I think, have a good feel for the staff.
Yeah, and of course, Coach Wolf has head coaching experience, too, at Virginia Tech's women's basketball program. You look at your records, we're talking to Jeff Jones, Old Dominion basketball coach, CBI, NIT Final Four, you win the Vegas event. You didn't go last year, but you still had a winning record. It seems like it's always measured. You never had this to worry about when you were at Virginia as a player or as a coach or an assistant coach. I remember back in '84 when you were an assistant, you guys made the Final Four without Ralph. But you always knew their teams were going to make the NCAA tournament. How frustrating is that for a lot of these leagues that whether you were at American or even here at Old Dominion, where it's a 1 or 2 bid league that you have to do so much to play against these Power 5 teams?
Well, I don't know. I'd say it's frustrating. It's just kind of the way it is. In many ways, the deck is stacked against the non-Power Fives, and it's become even more so. All you have to do is look at the numbers of the bids, and particularly the at-large bids, each of the last 5 seasons. It's getting harder and harder for the non-Power Fives. But that doesn't mean that people are sitting around wringing our hands, feeling sorry for us. We've got to go out there and we've got to make it happen. We talked a little bit this morning in our staff meeting about our schedule and the opportunities we have early on with our non-conference schedule, and we've got to make the most of those. 2 years ago, when we were right on that bubble and ended up missing, but being the number 1 seed in the NIT. A lot of that number 1 seed had to do not with our play in conference tournament, but it had to do with what we did in the non-conference portion. So, we're gonna have our chances. We've got to make the most of our chances. I think it's to dwell on NCAA or bust is that's not a helpful thing. What we want to do is go out. We want to try to put forth our best effort every game. Let's be the very, very best basketball team we can be. At the end of the season, all that other stuff will sort itself out. We just need to be focused on and really ready for whatever that obstacle immediately in front of us presents.
Which is going to be Towson this coming week, and of course James Madison before you go to Charleston. Let's talk about Towson and James Madison. What do you expect from these two schools? Of course, it's so early. I guess you can only go by past performances.
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't taken a look at anything related to James Madison. I believe John Richardson has that scout, and we'll talk early Saturday morning and start getting prepared for James Madison. Right now, 100% of our attention is focused on Towson. They're a veteran team, a very physical team, a team that we saw firsthand last year. We got a really nice win against them up on their court. It's last year we just were able to do a better job on the boards. The two teams were similar in that regard. I think they were number 11th in the country in offensive rebounding, and we were 16. But in that game, we were able to out-rebound them, and that was a critical factor in us getting the win. We had to have to do a great job on the boards this year, but we're a different kind of team, so we've got to be prepared for their physical style. As I said, they're a much more experienced team than we are, but we have the advantage of playing at home. So this isn't your normal season opener. Mm-hmm. Hopefully for the folks listening, the Monarch fans that are listening, they can get out to the game, because it might not be the smartest, but we wanted to challenge ourselves. This is a very, very difficult season opener, and we're going to have to play well to find a way to get the win.
Do you really have to look in chunks, Coach? The fall, then the winter, then the conference season, and then postseason? It's almost like one game at a time cliche, but you got your fall, you got your winter, and then of course the conference, and of course the road trips too.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny. You know, we're going to have that conversation today prior to practice and in our film session, just about breaking the season down in segments and looking at it. And it's not as simple as non-conference, conference, and postseason. I think there's smaller divisions as you go through. And again, you know, each one of these segments are very, very important and present you know, opportunities. You know, for your club, and so we'll talk about those, you know, today, and hopefully the guys kind of understand and comprehend, you know, the message. But you know, it is a challenge. It is an opportunity, and we want to make the most of all the opportunities that are available to us.
Talking to Jeff Jones up until 12:30 right here, Sports Scene. This will be archived later at gjbtv.com, hitting the YouTube link at Greg Bick on Twitter. As far as recruiting now compared to, let's say, when you were an American, how has it changed? And what is a healthy number you like to keep, Coach Jones, on your roster as far as scholarship players?
You know, it is very different than being at an American university. Obviously, here at Old Dominion, we are blessed to have some unbelievable facilities and great fan support. You know, at American, we didn't have as many things to sell. You know, you had Washington, D.C., which was, for some, not all, a positive. You had the academic reputation of the school and of the league. But at Old Dominion, we've got a much I think broader base in terms of the kids that we can recruit and be involved with. At the same time, you know, there are limitations, and we've got to, you know, understand the kids that we want. But we've also got to understand the kids that you know, that we can get, and so there's constantly you know that battle and that evaluation going on. But you know, we're excited that, you know, of what we've been able to do over the years, and particularly, I don't know if you know this, but today is National Signing Day.
Okay.
And we're going to have 3 young men, and I can't mention their names because I don't know that they've actually signed and sent back their NLIs to this point, but we're very, very excited about all 3 of the young men that have committed and are going to sign if they haven't already. You know, we feel like they'll be tremendous additions to our program next year.
Very good. What was your take? You've been around big-time schools. Old Dominion's a big-time school. You saw what happened at Louisville. What a distraction stuff like that happens during the off-season when a coaching staff is trying to prepare for a brand-new season full of optimism coming off the summer. Then you're seeing all these assistant coaching scandals, too. I mean, is that just part of life, part of basketball, sports in general? I mean, how do you deal with distractions off the court?
Well, the one you're referring to with the FBI probe and all of that's almost unprecedented in college basketball. So that's a bigger distraction than you have in most years. There's always going to be things that pop up, and you know, as a coach, you do your best to try to, you know, keep your focus and help the team to stay focused on the things that. I don't want to say that are really important, but on the things that they need to do in order to kind of fight their way through those distractions. You know, with what's happening, you know, in college basketball right now, it's something that all of us, quite honestly, have to be aware of. We've all had to address in one way or another, if only just by answering questions that are posed by the media. You know, it's unfortunate, but I think at the end of, you know, all of this, whenever that comes, and everything, you know, the fallout from everything is sorted through. You know, I got to believe that the college basketball will be in a better position. You know, right now we're all as college coaches kind of being painted with the same brush, and that's the reality is that's not the case. But you know, perception oftentimes is the rule. So you know, we've got to make sure that each of us at institutions, in college basketball, you know, take care of what we're supposed to do and do things the right way, and focus on the things that that will help our basketball team and our basketball program be successful.
Absolutely. Talking to Jeff Jones, Old Dominion basketball coach. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us live right here at 12:26. And you talk about the travel involved. When you were at Virginia as a player, the ACC back then was very regional. As an assistant coach at Virginia, when you were the head coach at Virginia, it still was, except for the TV type non-conference road trips. And even at American, that was a very regional conference that you were in. How is it in the Conference USA? Of course, this is year 5 for you as far as going to these road trips in Texas. That's why you mentioned little chunks of the season for the players' attitudes to be right, because the travel can be daunting no matter whether you're a kid or you're an adult.
There's no question about that. If I was going to describe the travel in Conference USA with one word, I'd just say it's hard. There's nothing easy about, and I don't care how you get there, there's nothing easy about traveling to San Antonio or El Paso. There's nothing easy about getting to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or Ruston, Louisiana. That takes a toll, and that makes those road games even harder. Winning on the road is hard. I don't care if you're going across the street and trying to win on the road. But when you have to travel that far, and it's that time consuming, it makes it much more difficult. Having said that, we're very fortunate at Old Dominion that we have the wherewithal, we have the budget and the resources that at least some of those trips we're able to charter. There are some in our league that I guess don't have the resources, aren't as committed as Old Dominion is, that aren't able to charter. So that's something we're grateful for, we're appreciative of, and that lessens that burden, but that it doesn't erase it. It's tough. You mentioned American and the travel there being regional, and you're exactly right. And in that world, we were very accustomed to a 3 or 4 hour bus ride wasn't anything. So we're not a staff that's been spoiled. We understand sometimes it's not going to be really, really easy, and you just make the best of it. But we are fortunate at Old Dominion, but it is a challenge, getting to some of these places for sure.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time, your talent, and your treasure. A great basketball coach as well, and great basketball mind with a great staff. And all the best this weekend against Towson, James Madison, before you go to Charleston. And we look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thanks, Greg. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you, my friend. Safe travels as well, and be safe. Jeff Jones right there, former great Virginia basketball player, was an assistant coach, head basketball coach there, as well as at American University, now at Old Dominion University for several years as well. I want to thank our good friends at Little Tokyo Buffet, Hibachi Noodle Soup Bar, Sushi Bar, and Buffet Bar. They're at 49 West Mercury Boulevard in Hampton. Give them a call at 325-8286. Open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner in Hampton. It's Little Tokyo Buffet. And also, congratulations to the teams that made the college football top 8. Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oklahoma, TCU, Miami, and Wisconsin. Georgia and Bama, both in the SEC. Sports Scene will continue after the news.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe Daniel. Glad you're with us. Greg Bicouvaris, Sports Scene every Wednesday, 12 to 1. Want to thank our great guest right there, Jeff Jones, head basketball coach at Old Dominion University, doing an outstanding job for the Monarchs as well. Former great Virginia basketball player, played with Jeff Lamp and the great Ralph Sampson as well. Of course, this is Highlights, gjbtv.com. Click the YouTube link for archive shows as well. And of course, Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Browse, shop, visit, bookmark it. And of course, our big announcement tomorrow for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. That'll be listed on our website as well. And as we mentioned, the college football playoffs. Of course, it's still early, but Georgia and Bama, Notre Dame and Clemson in the top 4. To me, Clemson does not deserve to be number 4. I'd rather put Miami or Wisconsin up there over Clemson, who's got a loss, a very bad loss as well. Also, too, we got our big segment coming up as far as with our question presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. And, of course, that is to Joe Daniel. Do you ever put yourself in situations like over-promising and realizing, oh, boy, what did I just say or do?
Yeah, I think a lot of us do that, but I definitely do, especially with work. I don't want to be the person that says, no, I can't do that. If somebody comes to me saying, hey, I could use your help for something, I definitely want to be that person who is there for that person too, because I know that their plate is full, and so they're coming to me to help alleviate it, but it often leads to, I've overcommitted myself, I've double booked, everything's overlapping, and now I look bad, even though I'm just trying to help and do the right thing. It turns out sometimes to not work in my favor.
Or it's like somebody inviting themselves to a party where they know they weren't invited, but the person that was invited was a relative of theirs, and they're just filling in for them. That can be awkward, too, especially at a wedding or a social event.
Yeah, absolutely. Being somewhere where you're not personally invited is just an awkward scenario.
Yes, try to get that for 3 or 4 hours, too, as well. All right, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, lunch, dinner, great appetizers, mozzarella sticks, as well as boneless traditional wings. Yum, yum, yum. Excellent burgers and salads, appetizers, wraps, sandwiches, tenders, macs, beverages, desserts, a great kids menu. Go by and see Paul and the great staff. Open 7 days a week. Games on TV, all the NFL, and, of course, college basketball, college football, NFL, right there at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. Give them a call at 249-3999. Of course, right there at 12150 Jefferson Avenue. Wings, beer, sports. Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News, right next to Patrick Henry Mall in Jefferson Avenue as well. And, of course, we'll be talking Virginia Opera here in a little bit later. Of course, the governor's election finally over. Northam won. Whether you like it or not, he is going to be the next governor. Kind of a interesting scenario, too. And Donald Trump, of course, in the news note, was in Asia, of course, recently in South Korea. And boy, oh boy, can you imagine just the drama there talking about North Korea, where the guys that in charge, the ticking time bomb, and no matter what you say, you know he was watching his speech last night. That can be really drama, especially in overseas when you're not in your own home turf and you're talking about countries you don't get along with that well.
Yeah, and like you said, especially when essentially the person is standing right behind you. You know, when you're talking about somebody and then it just so happens that they're standing right behind you, that's essentially what occurred the other night.
Just a few miles away. All right, Craft Burger Bar, 1706 Mediterranean Avenue, Virginia Beach. Great appetizers like fried house pickles and Kraft chili, Wagyu burgers, Coronado, the Greek, the pepper, the sunrise, the shroom, all delicious. Excellent toppings, chicken sandwiches if you need it, Carolina snap dogs, salads, vegan burgers, house-cut fries, beer-battered onion rings. Go by and see the great staff over there 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at Craft Burger Bar. Yum, yum, yum. Delicious adult beverages and, of course, great burgers at 1706 Mediterranean Avenue. Stay tuned for more of Sports Scene right here, 1650 AM, 92.5 FM if you want to. And also tunein.com, type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. And, of course, 1650theanswer.com.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
Very overcast November 8th, day after the Virginia governor's election. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. Hope you enjoyed Jeff Jones, the head men's basketball coach at Old Dominion in Norfolk, of course, and great 30 for 30 on ESPN by Ric Flair, great wrestler, as well as had a lot of hardships in his life, but excellent 30 by 30 on Ric Flair as well. And congratulations again to Georgia and Alabama, the top two in the college football playoffs. All right, we switch gears from in Norfolk and basketball to the Opera. We talk usually to them several times a year. Let's welcome from the Virginia Opera as well, Mr. Russell Allen. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing real well. How are you, Greg?
Very good, very good. How's the season going so far? And tell us what's coming up next.
Well, the season's been going great. We have had just a real big success with our first production of Samson and Delilah, the old Bible story, and it went very well. And we're coming up right now with The Girl of the Golden West. It's truly a Western-style opera. And if you've never seen a Western-style opera, you've got to come see this one.
Sounds really, really good. I was going to ask you about your first opera in September. Is that something that you decide on that early in the season, especially when tourists are coming off the summer and the break and school is getting started, or would you rather push that back in future years as far as the September opera?
Well, the September time period, we have to be able to rehearse 2 operas in the fall, and in order to really get the season started, we need to start in late September or real early October. It just varies on the calendar whether we start that last weekend in September or the first weekend in October, because then we take our operas on the road and perform in Richmond and Northern Virginia, and then we're into rehearsals for the second opera, which is always in November.
How would you compare the facilities? I went to George Mason. I'm familiar with it. Of course, Richmond, Norfolk, and Northern Virginia, they all have their own charm.
They're all different, and they're all wonderful halls. We're really fortunate to, of course, in Hampton Roads have the Harrison Opera House. I think it's a real landmark for the city of Norfolk. And then in Richmond, we're at the Carpenter Center, and in Northern Virginia at the George Mason Center for the Arts. Both very different facilities, but equally wonderful halls in their own right.
Talking to Russell Allen from the Virginia Opera, Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. And the performers, I mean, just the before and the after, getting the voice right, the preparation, it really takes a lot of work and commitment and focus, because all these actors and performers have personal lives as well as the crew involved and your behind the scenes staff. It really, everybody has to be all in on showtime.
It takes a good 3 weeks of rehearsal to get ready for any of the productions that we do. And this one is particularly difficult because we have an element in this upcoming opera, Girl of the Golden West, and that is bar fights. I mean, how many operas do you get to see that have a real bona fide Western-style bar fight in it?
That's really good.
So we have to have a fight choreographer, and all the moves obviously have to be planned out so it looks real, yet nobody gets hurt.
Very good, very good. And of course, you still have a few other performances for the remainder of the 17-18 season.
We do. We'll be back after the first of the year with an old Shakespeare standby, A Midsummer Night's Dream, in a work that was composed by Benjamin Britten. And then we close the season with probably the opera that has the most well-known mad scene, where the heroine, Lucia de Lammermoor, goes off half crazy after she's just murdered her husband. A lot of intrigue in that opera.
Of course, the website is vaopera.org. Phone number is 866-673-7282. So much, again, is the fundraising and getting the sponsors. And you have a really good staff that does that, because you still need people to come to the performances, and you always do a good job before the show starts explaining that as well to the audience. Do you do that in Richmond and Northern Virginia as well?
Yes, we have a pre-opera talk in all 3 markets. We also have a full-time dedicated staff member, Dr. Glenn Winters, Dr. Opera we call him, who does actual guest lectures at various facilities around each of the 3 cities in which we perform.
Very good, very good. So as far as the state of the cultural arts in Hampton Roads and Richmond and Northern Virginia, is it on a healthy upswing, or is it still challenges? You're competing against so much for the entertainment dollar, especially during the holiday season. Talk about that.
Well, there's a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar, no question about that. But I think of the arts in Hampton Roads and all 3 of our markets, but in Hampton Roads in particular, I think, has really an amazing level of support as far as people who are interested in seeing our product. And I think that's true with the Symphony and the Stage Company and the Arts Festival as well. I mean, we really have an amazing offering between Chrysler Hall and the Harrison Opera House. You can really see some incredible performances.
What I think people like about the opera the most is there's only 3 or 4 per year, and they can plan it. It's not oversaturated. You can really have time to plan it, bring your family, bring your friends. It's really a fun night out or fun day out as well.
It is a lot of fun to go to the opera. And remember, the opera, of course, is the art form that involves symphony, scenic design, choral, and singing. It combines all the arts, really.
Very good. Okay, Russell, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a busy man, of course. And last question the audience wants to know, too, is how do you decide what shows come up? Like, do you already have an idea of the 18-19 season? How do you decide that so far in advance?
We're actually working on the 2021 season right now.
Okay.
And the reason we work so far in advance is because a lot of the singers that we want to get to perform in the roles, we have to book that far out. So it's really important for us to, plan as far in advance as we can artistically.
Very good. Well, all the best to you, my friend, and of course some great concessions there as well. People have a lot of fun. It's an elegant atmosphere, nice seating arrangement, and you have a wonderful staff. Give my best to Lana and your wonderful staff at the Virginia Opera.
Will do. Thanks so much, Greg. Appreciate being with you today.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Russell Allen right there. Joe Daniel, of course, you know how important it is to have a well-balanced life, and the arts are so important for families to learn, especially it's always fun during the holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that children, I think, need to be exposed a little bit more to the arts and humanities. I know we put a lot of pressure on the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, a lot of math and the science, but I think some kids just gravitate more to dance, to singing, to music, and more of those humanities, philosophy even, where a lot of these operas touch on. So I think absolutely bringing children and exposing them to these fantastic, almost athletes and these phenomenal singers is something that I think every child should be exposed to.
Because the performers alone in the opera, we've talked about it before, the voice alone, to get your voice to resonate through the outside noise, the inside noise, the crowd, the weather, whether you have a cold or not, and that's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think opera singers are kind of underrated in aspects just because they're not as out in the mainstream. We have these phenomenal singers in pop and in rock and roll and in country music, but some of the best singers, I think, in the world that have ever lived have been opera singers.
Mm-hmm. Want to thank our good friends at Panera. Well said, Joe Daniel. All items 100% clean. They deliver. Catering, take advantage of the rapid pickup option. Soups, sandwiches, salads, bagels, bread, smoothies. Excellent breakfast sandwiches, cookies, desserts, refreshing beverages. Go by and see Brian and the wonderful staff. PaneraBread.com, of course, located at 6255 College Drive in Suffolk in the Harborview section. For more, log on to PaneraBread.com. Food as it should be. All right, we'll come back with a lot of fun here with What Teased Me Off and a lot more. Sports Scene every Wednesday live from 12 to 1 on 1650 AM, 92.5 FM. And, of course, tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer right now. Subscribe to Sports Scene on TuneIn for free and, of course, on the YouTube channel as well. For more, go to gjbtv.com. And, of course, the big announcement for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. We'll name 5 winners. The board will tomorrow. I'm going to tell you who the 8 candidates are after this.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
All right, welcome back live right here to Sports Scene on this November 8th. Very overcast day in Hampton Roads. Please drive carefully. Big Sunday showcase on Fox at 1 o'clock. The Vikings at the Redskins as well. I want to thank Jeff Jones for being on the show so far from Old Dominion, as well as Russell Allen talking about voice preparation and acting with the Virginia Opera. So, of course, during the summer, Chuck Hall from Langley Speedway and myself started the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. We're going to make the announcement tomorrow. The board will get together and vote on the candidates. And how it's going to work is this year we're going to have 8 names on the ballot. We're going to decide 5, and then next year will be 10. But every year will be 5 winners, starting with the 2018 class. And that ceremony will take place at Langley Speedway next year, obviously during the season at one of the races. All right, people have been wondering who the names are. They're going to be, of course, on the ballot for tomorrow. Of course, we'll find out who's going to win tomorrow as well. But the 8 candidates are, no specific order, Ray Hebert, who used to work for the Daily Press for a long time, covered prep sports. The great Jim Dusabella, retired from the Virginian Pilot, as well as Bob Sheeran, who passed away from William & Mary, the former radio basketball analyst, as well as football, too. Mike Minium, Jennifer Williams, who worked for the Daily Press for a long time as a sports writer. Al Pierce, who's in several Hall of Fames as well, who covered NASCAR, too. Carol Hudson, the retired Old Dominion Sports Information Director. And Bruce Rader from Wavy TV 10 and Fox 43. So again, Rader, Mike Minium, Jennifer Williams, Hebert, Dusabella, Sheeran, as well as Pierce and Hudson, or the candidates for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. Of course, we'll make that decision on tomorrow who the 5 will be. Also, want to thank our good friends, too, as well, at Sakura Japanese Restaurant and Sushi Bar, Takeout and Dine-In. We deliver, and OrderUp.com, Walmart Way Crossing, 1437 Sam's Drive. Give them a call at 410-4577 for delicious Asian cuisine. Let's get to what tees me off.
What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
And also our good friends at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Mike and the staff have a spacious, nice dining area. They have a great bar, lunch, and dinner daily. Burgers, steaks, soups, great for the holidays. Salads, appetizers, seafood, pasta, chicken, ribs, chops, appetizers, desserts, beverages, dine-in, and carry-out. Right there at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Give them a call, 523-4832. For more, go to Outback.com. Open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. Get a great meal. Relax with your friends and family at the Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. I say Kempsville, that's the best one in Virginia Beach as well. All right, what teased me off starting off with this, Joe Daniel? When people pick up an item or a belonging and they don't return it to the proper place.
Like at a grocery store or
in your own house even, and nobody knows where, let's say, the napkins are or the silverware is or the light bulbs
This
are.
is definitely something that my wife would 100% agree with you. Everything has a place. That's not where that specific item goes. There's a specific home that item belongs to. I'm not one of those. I'm kind of just like, I put my keys in a similar area, but my wife, like I said, is 100% like that. It goes to a specific place, not just you pick it up and you put it down.
Absolutely. How about this? When everybody else finds out information and you find it out later than everybody else does, whether you're in a board or a club.
Kind of out of the loop a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of an awkward, just everybody's talking about something and you're like, what are we all talking about? And you have these awkward laughter about it. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
How about this? Just muggy weather, in the fall.
I hate humidity.
Like Monday was,
Humidity is the worst. I just don't like being hot. And then couple that with humidity and you're just sticky and I just get really irritable when it's hot.
Leaving a movie early.
It's like somebody else or you leaving
Let's say you're
movie?
going to a movie with somebody, you have to leave early.
Oh, yeah. No resolve. You have no resolve about that. Actually, I just heard a study about that saying that people who didn't actually see the end of the movie thought about the movie way more than the ones that actually did watch the end of the movie. And they thought about it. They were coming up with all these different scenarios, and it stuck with them a lot longer than people who just watched the movie. And that turned out to be like they were happier that they didn't see the end of the movie because they were able to use their imagination and come up with different scenarios and outcomes.
And of course, the holiday season's here. You see these gimmick displays way out in the fall with no meaning or no love behind Christmas, just like, look, here's the Christmas tree, here's the ornament, go buy it.
Right, exactly. Well, welcome to retail, more or less.
People eager to get information first before everybody else, like we mentioned. How about find out at the same time, all be on the same page? Like we have this president of this organization I'm a part of. He likes to email people separately. How about an all email, buddy?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really cumbersome to do that. To
yes.
type in each email address.
It's a waste of time doing his part.
Kind of is, yeah.
How about these robocalls from elected officials saying, go vote for so-and-so on election day? Robocalls, not even real human beings.
A lot of sincerity behind that. I was at a member of a gym where you swiped your key card and then the electric device said, welcome. And then the person behind me slided their card and says, welcome. And like you walk in and that does the opposite. Everybody else is like either on their phone or on their computer or something. And then you have this electric device telling you, welcome to this establishment.
Yeah, we live in a swipe card world, that's for sure. Great point, too. Not just robocalls from elected officials, but robocalls from telemarketers, too, as well. Movies that don't know when to end, like these directors that you can see, you're watching the movie, okay, it should have ended now, and it keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, I recently saw a movie where there was just a lot of subplots going on. There was the main event that was occurring, and then you have all this different character arcs, and it's just it drew out the story, I thought, way too long. It had a complete storyline that I thought the movie could have done without entirely. But like you said, that plot needed to be resolved by the end of the movie, so it just drew it out from probably a good, solid hour and a half, hour 40-minute movie to over 2 hours.
Yeah, expired holiday music too. I mean, come on, when you're hearing holiday music, too early or too late, I mean, just start it, let's say November 1st, end it December 31st. You don't need to start in October. You don't need to start in the summer. I mean, Christmas in July. I mean, come on. The holiday season is from November 1st through December 31st.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a matter of when you think it begins. It's kind of like the people who decorate their homes super early, or they don't take down their Christmas tree until February.
All right, I want to get these names again for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. Bruce Rader, Ray Hebert, Jim Dusabella, Mike Minium, Bob Sheeran, Jennifer Williams, Al Pierce, and Carol Hudson are the candidates. Those are the 8 candidates right there. I hope you enjoyed Sports Scene today. Great interview right there with Jeff Jones, the head basketball coach at Old Dominion University, as they take on Towson this coming up weekend, as well as Russell Allen from the Virginia Opera. Don't forget Greg Bick on Twitter. Interact with me 24/7. NNPSTV.com will have Woodside and Bayside in football playoffs. We're taping that game on Friday. And, of course, Redskins Vikings at 1 o'clock on Fox. For more, go to GJBTV.com and HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. For Joe Daniel, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. Happy Wednesday. Drive safe. We'll talk to you soon.
AM 1650, WHKT Portsmouth, 92.5 FM, W223CT Norfolk. For your daily supply of news and talk, we are The Answer.